Hello, this is Robert Kiyosaki, and this lesson comes, it's basically level one, it's the basics. Why are you playing the cash flow game? What are you studying to do? And this is the Cashflow Quadrant. It's book number 2 in the Rich Dad series. And E stands for employee, S stands for self-employed, small business entrepreneur, or a specialist like a doctor, a lawyer, computer programmer, and things like this. And B stands for big business, 500 employees or more. And I stands for inside investor. There's a very big difference. Insiders are different than these guys here. So most E's and S's, they have pension plans, and when they invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. They're outside investments. An inside investor is the guy putting the deal together. So those are the major differences in the big picture. But also there's a mindset and a skill set difference. So what we're going to be talking about today is, basically my poor dad, this is what you go to school for. Poor dad has to go to school, get a job. And my mom says, go to school, become a doctor. And I was flunking out of school most of the time. So she says, I said, Mom, you got to be smart to be a doctor. She says, you're right, you better stay over here, And then my rich dad said, become a big business owner. Now, there's a quantum leap here. Not only big businesses, but can you build a brand? And then can you be inside the deal? Can you be the guy that puts the stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, REITs together? So the mindset, the skill set, completely opposite. And as you're playing this cash flow game, keep this in mind here, because you're playing the cash flow game because you have to play the cash flow game on this side. These guys don't. And it's not right or wrong. You can still be rich, you can still be happy. But the challenge is to get over to this side. So as you're playing the game, the question is, do you want to stay here or do you want to move here? Those are the differences. And one more thing, B stands for brand. And so when I was starting off on this side, I had in my mind, how do I build a brand? That's a question. And it's not an easy, there's not a right, wrong answer. It's not a true, false answer to this thing. It's a process. And it takes a while. So I'm happy to announce that Rich Dad is a brand. We're all over the world. When I invest today, I invest the inside. So I don't have stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or ETFs because I don't need them. And those are the differences. These guys do. These guys don't. So another concept I could bring up is on this here. This came from book number 3, and it's called Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. And what this is called here is the BI triangle. In other words, this is what big business and I's need to know. And so it starts here. You have mission, team, leadership. Most important is mission. Another way of looking at this is military school. I went to military school. And so the first word we're taught at military school is the mission. When I went to my MBA program, I never heard this word here. It was just about making MBA programs, how to make money. That was it. And then team and leadership. So at military school, we're taught how to be members of a team, but more important, how to lead. And so the first day I went to the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy at Kings Point, New York. First day, that's what they teach us. They're yelling at us. What's the mission of the United States Merchant Marine Academy? Sorry, mission. That's how we start. Mission is everything. It's spiritual. Why are you in the military? And then we're taught to be leaders on the first day. The first day they line up all these, we're just goofy kids. They shave our heads and all this. They line us up like this. And then we're 17, 18 years old, and you go, section 10, hot. And most guys can't do that. They can't go, and they're teaching us how to lead from day one. And then section, right, face. Okay, that's how we're taught. And then you have to be part of this, and if this guy doesn't, if I say right face and this guy goes left face, I got to go jump in his shit. That's not easy to do. Here you're 17, 18 years old, and here's your friend, and the guy is screwing off over here. I got to jump in his shit. That's day one. Mission, team, leadership, I'm going, holy moly, what have I got myself into? Now, so this is the BI, the context. This is military school. This is business school. So I went to the MBA program while I was still in the Marine Corps. And you learn product, you have legal, systems, communications, cash flow. So what happens for most people is they go to school here, and what they learn to be is a product designer. They learn to be an attorney. They learn to be an engineer in systems and all this. They learn to be a marketing manager, sales and marketing, and then you learn to be an accountant. So this is what's called the BI triangle. What makes it hard for most people to transition from here to here is they're trained to be one of these. They're not trained to be the whole thing here. So and one of the reasons for playing the cash flow game is this here. You've got to be able to manage cash flow. On this side, you must have cash. You must understand that. You must. You see, because over here, it's a team doing all of this. Over here, you can do it on your own. So if I'm a doctor, let's say, I can control my cash flow. It's just me working with probably an assistant. So the controls are not strong. You don't need much controls to be a doctor financially. The moment you start going to be an international brand, your controls have to come up. So as you're playing the cash flow game, keep these pictures in mind here. So a lot of people come to play the game. They're from here, 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 here. Very few come from here. So the next thing is this. What we're going to be talking today about is this here. It's called communications, you know. And look at this. Why is this right above this here? Is if you're really good with communications, your cash flow goes up. And if you really suck at communications, cash flow goes down. So when I find somebody who's struggling financially, it's because they suck communication-wise. And it's okay as long as you're over here. You don't have to be that good a communicator. But over here, you've got to be. And that's the difference between this side, and this, again, is the BI triangle. So when you're playing the cash flow game and you're learning and all this, keep these pictures in your mind, because that's what you're playing for. You're learning to maintain this here. You have got to control your cash flow. You've got to. And then second is communications. So what we're talking today is communications.
When stocks and gold go up together, that's not good news. Normally they move in opposite directions. Stocks rise on confidence, gold rises on fear. They're not supposed to break records at the same time, but right now they are. This has only happened twice before, in 1999 before the tech crash, and in 2007 before the financial crisis. Gold doesn't rise because it's popular, it rises because big players see trouble coming. Central banks are buying gold aggressively. Gold is not a trade, it's a hedge against currency risk. When protection assets rise alongside risk assets, the system is sending a warning. Gold doesn't go up, paper money goes down. If you want to understand why real assets are rising and how to own gold and silver inside your IRA or 401k, get the free Rich Dad Wealth Defense Guide from my friends at Priority Gold. Call 866-703-9895 right now. That's 866-703-9895 for your free Rich Dad Wealth Defense Guide. Or open a text, type the word guide, and send it to 24999. Again, that's guide to 24999. This is not the time to guess. It's a time to position. Call 866-703-9895 or text guide to 24999 now to get your free Rich Dad Wealth Defense Guide.
So I'm going to bring one of my dearest friends up. He's not he's an old friend, but he's not old. But we've been friends for so many years. I mean, it's like it's like my little brother most of the time. So we're going to be talking about this here because, interestingly enough, all of this is communications, really. But to do this, you must be a great communicator. Like I said, when I was 18 years old, I stood in front of 20 other guys my age, and I said, Section 10 hut, right face, forward arch. Now, it sounds easy. Try doing it in real life. Try doing it today in business. You get sued. You're politically incorrect. You hurt my feelings. It's a trigger event. Do you know what I mean? So communications becomes more important today than it was when I was in school in the dark ages. So with that, my best friend here, Blair, please come up here, big hand. And how many years have we been together now?
I lost track after about 38. So we've been together a long time.
I know Blair from before Kim, before BK. And Blair is the author of this book here, Sales Dogs. And his other book, probably the most important one, is Little Voice Mastery. Can you control what you're saying to yourself, right?
Right.
It's not what you're saying, it's what you're saying to yourself.
That's right. Which is one of the most important communications of all.
Correct. And that's why many people don't make it on the B and the I side, is because they can't control the little voice, because you got so many idiots running around in front of you.
That's right. That's right. You know, and anywhere you go, anywhere, and when anybody's complaining about cash flow, they're complaining about they don't have the lifestyle, they don't have the income. It can always be traced back to this right here.
Right.
Always be traced back. Either they can't sell, or they can't market, or they can't get past their own little voice, and that's the issue.
And they can't get their employees to do what they want to do, so they say, I hate employees. Right?
That's right. That's right. Because to try to the reason people stay in the S quadrant, because it's easier.
Yeah.
There's nobody
do it by yourself.
Yeah, you do it by yourself. Nobody to be accountable to. Once you get past 2 or 3 people, then, oh my God, I got to communicate, get everybody in line. Yeah. That's why what you guys learned in the military is priceless.
Yeah.
Priceless.
Well, in some situations, not today. But anyway, so Blair and I left with Kim, and the three of us left Hawaii at the same time, 1984. And we stopped being entrepreneurs I was in rock and roll, and you were in, what was your business at that time?
Well, we had the surf shop.
That's right.
We were selling Prindle catamarans, which are kind of like Hobie cats, and T-shirts and surfboards and all that.
That's where we met, in the surf shop.
That's where we met. Where we met. Yeah, you came in. You were selling wallets and your '98 Rock T-shirts, right?
Yeah,
and so that's how we met.
And then Blair and I became good friends. In your background, you got your sales training at what company?
Burroughs.
Burroughs. What did Burroughs do at those days?
Well, Burroughs was, in those days, there were the top 3 computer manufacturers were IBM, a company called NCR, and Burroughs. They were the top 3. Now, 2 of them are gone, but Burroughs was number 3. Huh?
Who's left?
IBM.
IBM. Oh, okay.
Yeah, IBM's still around. So
wait a minute. I was with Xerox.
You didn't count.
Oh, bullshit.
You were office machines. No, but seriously, and he was working with Xerox. I went to Burroughs, and the reason is because they had really good sales training.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the most formalized, most rigorous, disciplined systems, and we knew that was going to be vital if we were ever going to go down this route.
Right. And then once you learn how to sell, then for a lot of sales guys, they want to start their own businesses, but they cannot make the transition from here to here.
Right.
That's harder.
That's right.
So when I was at Xerox, they sent me from Hawaii to Leesburg, Virginia, and they put you in this room for 3 weeks, and they teach closed circuit TV, and they teach you to formally sell.
Right.
It's great training. What did Burroughs do with you guys?
Ours wasn't so formalized.
Oh, okay.
So what happened is you came in, they go, okay, they gave you a business directory and a desktop calculator. And they go, okay, you've got 6 weeks to sell $10,000 worth of these things. And if you can do that, then we'll send you to Pasadena, which was where our training was. And I go, man, don't I get the training first? They go, nope. Because if you can't get through this, we're not going to waste our time and money on you.
Right.
And so that's how we started. And so they had to put us out on the street because the toughest sale is not selling the calculator. The toughest sale is after they keep telling you, get out of my office, you have no idea what you're talking about. And we had this thing, this sign in the office says, salesmanship begins when the customer says no. So my first day, I'm going in there, okay, I got that, got to handle objections. I got battered the first day. Come back in, same sign. Salesmanship begins when the customer says no. Okay, I'll try it again. Next day, worse. Being from the mainland, we're called Howley Boys and all that stuff.
In Hawaii.
In Hawaii, right? And they're making fun of you. And I went to the Flamingo restaurant, cafe, drinking coffee the rest of the day and going, this is ridiculous. I'm not cut out for this. I'll never be an entrepreneur. I'm not in sales. I can't do anything. And I walk back to the branch and I look at the sign again. It says, salesmanship begins when the customer says no. And then I got it. That sign was not talking about the customer. the toughest sale of all was me selling me to me that day to keep going.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons why guys don't go from S to B, because it's hard.
Yeah.
And what happens is your little voice starts playing games with you, and if you don't know how to manage that communication, you're out.
Right.
And so that's how we started.
And the way I started was I go to Xerox, they send me to Leesburg, Virginia, 3 weeks, the best training in the world. You come back, they give you a little handy-dandy little briefcase, and you go hit the streets cold calling. I said, wait, I thought I was an account manager. He says, yeah, you do. You have to manage accounts that you create. I said, what? You mean there was no existing customer?
Right.
And so the sales training began with this, knocking on doors. And you had Flamengo, I had Arthur's Coffee Shop. And I would sit there drinking coffee, just miserable, terrified of going out there to knock on a door. And then I met my real best friend, Larry Clark, who was there, and he was like number one. And by the way, Larry Clark just sold his business for $2 billion in 2020. That boy could sell.
Yeah.
And I said, how'd you learn to sell, Larry? He says, I was a Mormon missionary. And I said, what does that mean? He says, I was in Northern Ireland selling Mormonism to Catholics. And I said, if you can sell God, you can sell anything. So he understood rejection. So I was going to get fired. So they sent me back to Leesburg for the final training. It's about a year's process. You spend a lot of money on training us. I still couldn't sell. I come back from the extra week training, and then I said, what's happening? So I go to my rich dad and I said, what's happening? And he says, how many sales calls do you make a day? And I said, on a good day, 3. He says, what are you doing the rest of the time? I'm at Arthur's Coffee Shop drinking coffee, trying to dull the pain. The fear is intense.
Yeah.
I don't like rejection. So finally, my rich dad said to me, the reason you're failing is you're not failing fast enough. You have got to find a way to fail faster. And that's why most of these people don't make it, because they went to school. This is what schools teach you. This is poor dad on this side. Don't fail, don't make mistakes. And rich dad is saying you have to fail faster. That's when Blair and I, we lived in the same town, Hilo, Hawaii. We kind of grew up on the streets of Honolulu, Waikiki.
Right.
And then I'd go up the street, so I said, how can I fail faster? So I got a job with a nonprofit, dialing for dollars. And so my goal was sit on that phone and make 30 cold calls a night, so I could fail faster. I didn't care if I sold anything. I just had to go through the fear of dialing that. You get a card and say, call Joe Schmo, and I call him and say, hi. And if I got 30 rejections, I was done. I didn't care if I sold a damn thing. I had to handle rejection. And that's why this book here, Little Voice Mastery, that's what you have to master.
That's right. Because the good news is, like Robert says, you just repeat, keep going through it again and again and again. Just like anything you're trying to master, you can get past the fear. After a while, it's no big deal. It's like, give me your best shot, as opposed to being afraid and being paralyzed by it.
Yeah. So that's why Sales Dogs is based upon this here. So tell them what is Sales Dogs about?
Well, Sales Dogs, what I found is working with entrepreneurs all over the world for the last 15, 20 years is that sales is your number one skill, okay? As an entrepreneur. If you can't sell, there's no income. Sales equals income, pure and simple. Right. If you can't sell, there's no income. So people complain, well, I don't have enough income. Every excuse in the world, I can't sell. Little voices in their head, I can't sell.
The economy is bad. Product's bad.
I'm not that type of a person.
Yeah. I don't like to be pushy.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm not interested in money.
All that garbage that goes on that plays with your head. So what the reason I wrote Sales Dogs is that this whole image that you got to be some sort of an attack dog or you got to be some kind of an aggressive goon in order to sell is not true. That you have a personality, you have your own unique, authentic personality. And when you understand what that is, there are 5 different personalities that all can sell equally well. So what we did is we created the book Sales Dogs to take the fear out of it, to take the little voice out of it, to say maybe you are a pit bull, which is the aggressive one.
What are the 5 types of dogs, sales dogs?
Well, stereotype is the pit bull. tact, never take no for an answer, love handling objections.
And people hate those guys. They bite you on the leg and they don't let go, right?
That's right. Right? Then there's the poodle. Charming,
Good looking.
they look good, they wear nice clothes, maybe they can't afford them, but they always look good. And these are the people that are schmoozers, they're connectors. You find them at every social event.
The poodle.
The poodle.
Yeah.
Yeah, the poodle, right? And so those are poodles. So that's a strength. Great networkers. The other is the Chihuahua. These are the data freaks, right? These are the guys, if you like social media marketing and you want to chat by bot and all this other garbage that people do, that's for them. It's like all the bits and bytes and all that stuff. And that's very good too.
And they're called wonks.
Is that what they're called?
Wonk. Well, they're just really smart people, and they go down the rabbit hole. They know everything.
That's right. But they're good because they can provide irrefutable evidence.
Data.
Right? And then there's the golden retriever. If you don't understand a golden retriever, that's the dog at the park where you throw the stick and they just leaping across the flowers, drool flowing to pick that thing up, bring it back, and drop it at your foot and go, do it again, right? Why? Because they love to serve. And in any economy, that's called law of reciprocity. If you give, you receive. And as you know, if you do any kind of marketing online, you know that that's the primary way that you build a community and build a network. You give first, receive later. And so that's also a very powerful personality type.
That's the golden retriever.
The golden retriever, right. And then finally, there's the schlumpy basset hound. The hush puppies? They have those big eyes. They look you in the eye. They love you no matter what. These people aren't flashy, but they're great one-on-one because they build rapport, they build trust, and you've been with them for 2 minutes and you feel like you're best friends. So these people make great coaches, by the way, because they're really able to build and establish rapport.
They're nice people, very kind. What about the big dog?
Well, then of course, there's not a breed of dog, but then there's the big dog. The big dog only does big deals, and they only talk to big people. And they wouldn't be bothered by doing little deals with little people because there's no glory in that. And they fail big and they win big. And so even when they fail, it makes for a great story later to tell to everybody else, and they brag about that. So if bragging were an Olympic sport, they'd win gold medals all day long.
So I kind of fit the big dog.
That's right.
I don't like small deals. The way I wanted Xerox was, I'd go out there, so I make my 30 fail calls. I failed 30 times a night, come back in, and I had to sell this one machine called the Xerox 660. It was 2 points. And then they had this, I forgot the name of it now, another Xerox machine. I got 60 points. So most sales guys, they're kind of the little chihuahuas. They're after the little 2 points. And I said, I've got to sell 10 of those a month to make 20. So why am I wasting my time selling small machines? So once I understood rejection and all this stuff, I went after only the biggest deals. And I became #1 in sales for Xerox. But I got in trouble because I didn't sell small machines.
Right.
And finally they said they're going to fire me unless I sell small machines.
Because they got to clear the inventory, man.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there, I'm going to get fired. I'm #1 in sales. I'm 600% of my budget. And they're going to fire me? And I said, I'm in the wrong business. I'm in corporate America. I hate it. Time to move on.
That's right.
At the same time, my best friend, Larry Clark, he's #1 in another division. And he and I decided to move on, and we became entrepreneurs in the nylon and Velcro surfer wallet business. And we failed miserably.
That's right.
But we're big dogs. Anyway, so that's what this book is here for, and this book is here for. Now the question is, why do you need to know these books? And I'll tell you why. You need to know it so you can train other people to sell. Because if your organization is not selling, what do you have?
Well, you're broke, okay? So what happens is not only do you have to sell, but you have to learn to teach other people in your team how to sell.
Right.
Teach the team how to sell, because where else?
Well, that's this here, you see.
Yeah, because they're not going to learn it any other place. And by the way, for people that are in the network marketing business, this is the key to their success.
Yeah. If you're in network marketing, you've got to have this book and this book for yourself and for your team.
That's right.
Right.
Because you guys know that you teach your team how to sell, and they teach the next team member how to sell. Now you build depth in an organization, and you're churning money. You know, and in our organization I work with, there's one of the rules is everybody on the team must sell, whether you're a bookkeeper, whether you're in customer service, whether you're in sales, whatever you're doing. So everybody at some level has got to learn the skills and practice the skills. You don't have to be great at it, but you got to do it, and that's how it works.
And that's why when you look at this BI triangle, all of these people have to sell. They speak different languages, but they have to sell.
That's right.
Like an attorney speaks a different language than your accountant. The sales and marketing people generally don't get along with these guys or these guys. You know, the system guys are the engineers. They don't get along with any of these guys here. And then you have the product design guys, and they're going, hey, you got to sell my product. Well, no, I don't want to sell your product, you know. And so that's why this BI triangle is essential here. So as you're playing the cash flow board game, keep this picture in mind and keep this picture in mind. Let me say it again. If you're on this side, this is my poor dad's side, it's the rich dad's side, you really don't need to sell. I mean, most of these people, you know, they can sell for themselves and all this. But to grow, you have to teach others to sell. That's the difference. And so these guys, a lot of times small business people don't grow because they can't teach other people to sell for them, right?
That's right. That's right.
Anything you want to say about that?
Well, yeah, because what you were saying before, if we go back to the BI triangle right here, is that outward sales or outward communication in sales and marketing is critical. But if this is dysfunctional, one of the biggest liabilities in every organization is these guys can't communicate or sell to each other. And so what happens, they're stuck in silos and the egos get in the way and it becomes dysfunctional and people don't show up for calls. They miss meetings mysteriously and they're
sick all the time.
All that stuff. So that's why in order to sell a mission, to sell people, to recruit people to be on your team, you got to be able to sell. And sales and leadership are very much the same. It's getting people to do things that maybe they weren't inclined to do to begin with.
Yeah. So as you're playing the cash flow game and you're watching and you're learning, just remember, these guys here don't really need the cash flow game. And these guys here really don't need this here. Okay, but if you're going to make the transition to here, you've really got to understand these two here. That's right. Because as Blair says, this is the financial statement. So as you're playing your cash flow game, this is what you're looking at. So when I look at somebody without money and they have a sucky salary, sales equals what?
Income.
And when their assets aren't performing, sales equals?
Income.
And that's why if you're going to be in network marketing, you're going to practice being a big business guy or person, woman, you have to learn how to sell. You don't just do it once. You do it all the time. Practice, practice, practice. So as you're playing the cash flow game, you see we go all the way back to this here. You know, the biggest sales job is you've got to be a great leader. I mean, to be a good leader, you have to be a good salesperson. Can you get people to show up on time, leave on time, clean up their desk and all this stuff? Can you do that? So if you really want to practice practice leadership, practice being a team member who's supportive, and get everybody aligned to the mission. I meet a lot of these guys here, you know, S's. They play the cash flow game online by themselves, you know what people do by themselves. Anyway, if you're going to become a B and an I, you've got to have this skill here. That's the sales skills. And that's how I started this whole thing. I went to military school, and I had to lead, I had to sell the mission, I had to drive a team. So when we flew into Vietnam, we were a team. You know, and then when I came back from Vietnam, I went into the MBA program, and I found these guys here all fighting amongst themselves. I entered the business world, they're all fighting amongst themselves. You don't need an enemy, you know. You just need a company.
That's right.
You need employees.
You got enough problems on your side of the net,
yeah.
That's for sure.
Meet employees who don't want to work, don't want to sell. Yeah, I don't have to sell. Yeah, no. Going, why are you here?
Or so-and-so wasn't nice to me, and so-and-so didn't, you know, all that stuff, right?
If you have a team that's not selling, you have no
income.
And so that's why it shows up, it all shows up here.
Right.
And if you want to, if you if you're on this side, if you're on the E and if you're on this side here, E's and S's, you pay the highest taxes. So you're screwed. So it's best to learn how to sell.
That's right.
And so do anything you possibly can. Join a network marketing company, lead a forum, but lead, teach,
Right.
Take rejection, take criticism, right?
That's right. And the more you take, the more you learn. That's all there's to it.
When the cash flow is low, it's because communications suck.
Right.
And when cash flow is high, it's because communications are strong. If you understand that, that's why sales equals
Income.
And if you don't have enough income, it's probably because you can't sell, or you're working for a leader who can't sell, or you have an organization that's trying to kill each other. They're dysfunctional inside the company. Am I correct?
That's it. That's totally right. So it's those three areas of communication. It's being able to sell within your team. It's being able to sell out to the public. And again, remember, the most important one is you selling you to you. So say, well, it's not worth it. I don't want to do this. These people are dysfunctional. No, that's your lesson to be learned to
Right.
learn how to become a better communicator.
If you can't control this, you cannot transition from here to here. There's nothing right or wrong with it, but just keep that in mind. Because as Blair says, the only difference here is what's between this here and this here, what's inside your head, right? What are you saying to yourself? And that's really why this whole BI triangle is the real world of business. Again, as you get stronger, take more opportunities to be a leader. Because when you're leading a network marketing company or leading a charity, you're practicing this here, but what you're really practicing is communications and sales. Final word?
Well, the final word is the people that do this the best are the leaders. The people that do this do make the most money, and these are the people that build the organizations. So it's a requirement of the skill.
You don't have to do this if you're a doctor or a lawyer.
No.
You communicate differently. You're omnipotent. But if you look at what I do in the Rich Dad Company, I do my communications through a product. It's called a book or a game or seminars. And you and I have been in all those businesses, right?
Right.
So basically, I'm in the communications business. I have Tom Wheel right here for Cashflow, Garrett Sutton for legal, and I have other people running systems for me. But I still have to be the leader. I'm responsible for them. That's the difference.
And to help manage that communication inside.
So remember, as you're playing the cash flow game, remember you're playing this, but keep this in mind here. So thank you, Blair.
Thank you.
And see you next lesson.
Thank you.